Greetings, my name is Mr. Good and Kinky. In this video I am going to utterly destroy the comments on hell from Fr Robert Barron in his video Comments on Hell, which the link is below. In the beginning of this video he talks about a bit from George Carlin where George Carlin went after this idea of hell. And so you know what I'm talking about and he's talking about. Here's George Carlin to say it for himself.
Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish, where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
Then this Fr Barron goes on to say how he does recognize that there is this problem with the idea of hell and a loving God. But he says about being careful not to dismiss the doctrine of hell, because he claims there are two things that if you dismiss hell, you have to also dismiss, and people won't want to dismiss these, and you're going to hear him explain what those are. But before he does that, he mentions Jesus and how Jesus referred to hell. I'm going to give you a very brief run-through of how hell has changed. Back in the Old Testament, I'm not even going to go back to the Sumerians and the Egyptians in this, just the Old Testament. There are 3 words of hell in the Bible. In the Old Testament, the predominant hell is Sheol, which means the grave. The word Hades is Greek, but it also means the grave. Those are 2 of the 3. The third is a specific story in Jeremiah 32, around verse 35, is where the Lord God got pissed at people burning children in fire to Moloch. And he said, you're doing something I never commanded, nor came it into my mind that you should do this abomination to cause Judah to sin. Now, if it was regarded by the Lord God as a sin to burn children in fire, why would this same God create or have this place of hell, of eternal burning in fire type of shit? It clearly seems like a contradiction, but it's one I've heard some Christians on YouTube try and wiggle past this with, well, they were burning children in fire to Moloch. Oh, really, Christian? So this God you're saying that is all loving hated the idea and never thought of burning children in fire to Moloch, but burning children in fire or burning people in fire to him, that's a different issue? Are you really trying to go there? Do you really want to make the assertion that this God is all for burning people in fire when it is regarding him, but when it's regarding Moloch or some other god, well, then he's opposed to it? Is that really the claim you want to make? But the next thing you're going to hear is this Fr Barron saying what the 2 things are that are necessary in order to have this hell, which I'm going to utterly destroy. But here they are.
I would say this. The doctrine of hell is a corollary, a kind of a necessary consequence of 2 other doctrines. And I doubt anybody wants to deny these other 2. Namely, that God is love and that we human beings are free. I think you can't hold those 2 without also holding the possibility of hell.
All right, let's back the stupid train up a second. This idea that he's trying to put forward that you have to have hell because you have this all-loving God, which is total fucking bullshit. But because you have this all-loving God and you have free will, you have to have hell. That is bullshit. For this reason. That is like saying because we have a free society and we have laws, that Guantanamo Bay is necessary. Or the gas ovens of fucking Hitler were necessary. Because, after all, if you don't have extreme torture, you can't have a free society. This screams what I hear so much from Christians. That when you go after their thought crime of the New Testament, they get into, well, if people can just have whatever thoughts they want, then they're going to be raping people. Or if you don't have the Ten Commandments, then people are going to be going around killing each other and doing rape and stealing. Wait the fuck 1 second. Christians, you want to go from thought crime to the other extreme of you have people raping, killing, stealing. Holy shit, is there no middle ground in there? You either have extreme tyranny or you have extreme brutality. There is no fucking middle ground? Are you people out of your goddamn mind? However, I'm going to pause for a second and let this Fr Barron really hang himself with his lies. And I'm going to show where what he is saying are straight out lies. Not misunderstandings or getting it wrong. This is a Catholic priest. He should fucking know what is in the goddamn Bible. But here he is, lying. Which is a sin according to the Ten Commandments. But here it is.
Now here's why. Look first at the claim that God is love. We hold not that God has love, or that love is one of God's attributes, or love is something that God does from time to time. Love is what God is. The whole nature, essence, substance, life of God is love. To will the good of the other as other, that's who God is. Therefore, God doesn't go in and out of love, doesn't love some, hate others. He doesn't go into emotional snits and change his mind. God simply is love.
If this had been coming from a typical YouTube Christian that I deal with on a daily basis, I would be first asking the question, have you even read the goddamn Bible? To make a claim like this, that this God is just love, that that's not an attribute that it has, that it loves some and dislikes others or hates others, but that it is love. That is a crock of bullshit. Because in the Bible, this God specifically picks people, a culture, a group, a tribe, to refer to as my people. The phrase, my people, occurs 217 times in the Bible. That is quite a lot for one that is trying to be all love, that it is love to all, that it is not, that love isn't one of its attributes, that's what it is. And to try and claim that it doesn't love one and hate another, clearly this Catholic priest is ignoring Malachi chapter 1 verses 2 and 3. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob and Esau, and hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage to waste for the dragons of the wilderness. That is also repeated in the New Testament in Romans chapter 9 verse 13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. You cannot have a God that you claim doesn't love one and hate another be the same one as this Bible God that is clearly loving one and hating another. Loving some and hating others. There are also cases in the Bible of where Christians want to say that this God is not a man that he should lie. Numbers chapter 23 verse 19. But yet this God turns around and sends a lying spirit. 1 Kings chapter 22 verses 22 and 23. This Lord God sends a lying spirit. as well as speaking evil and doing evil. We also have cases, multiple in the Bible, of this Lord God repenting himself. Things like Genesis chapter 6 verse 7, Exodus chapter 32 verse 14, 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 35, 2 Samuel chapter 24 verse 16, Jeremiah chapter 26 verse 19, Amos chapter 7 verse 3, Amos chapter 7 verse 6, Jonah chapter 3 verse 10. Over and over and fucking over, this Lord God is repenting himself. He repented, which means to change one's mind. Clearly this Catholic priest is lying about what this God is. That what he is trying to claim as this God is not the God of the Bible. I'm not sure what God he's trying to refer to, but it's not the one of the Bible. Especially the one of the Bible which kills over 2.3 million, which is not counting the 2 cases of genocide which were done before there was a law, the flood and Sodom and Gomorrah, which the Sodom and Gomorrah is a bit of a frickin' joke too, for a God to tell Lot to go into a town and find 50 righteous, or even 10, or even 2, or 1, when you don't have a law or a standard by which to go in and say, this is good, this is bad, this is righteous, this is not. There was none of that. There was no law by which could be established. This is good behavior, this is bad. So you to try and say, go in and find 50 righteous or however many, the only reason this Lot and his family would have known they were righteous was this fucking God told them they were. There was no standard that they could look at and say, this is good, this is not. It is absolute horseshit. It is called setting people up to fail. There's also the fact with Christians, and I want to hammer on this, with Numbers 31, they try and say that there's a context, that the genocide, God commanding that Moses go in and kill every man, woman, child, but the women, children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep them for yourselves. They want to try and say that there's a context where that is okay, where that is acceptable, where that is good. And I ask any Christian, what is the context where genocide and rape are acceptable, where they are good behavior, where that is the right thing to do? Explain the context where that is. And also explain how you have that context with a being that is not sometimes loving, or love is one of its attributes, but it's all loving. How do you have all loving from a being that is going in and saying, slaughter, kill, rape? Exactly how the fuck do you have that? But I'm going to take a breath and let him explain, or bullshit, on his part 2. Here he is.
That human beings are free. Look, God made planets and plants and animals and insects to glorify him simply by being themselves. That's how they reflect the divine goodness. But human beings he made with intelligence and will. That means he wants us to respond to his love, who he is, with our own love. He gave us that privilege of our freedom. Now, the minute you say freedom, you have to say the possibility of the abuse of freedom. That's the nature of freedom.
It wasn't the use of the word freedom that got my attention or got my blood to boil, but the word privilege. For anyone to try and assert that free will is a privilege that we were given is absolutely asinine. The reason this is absurd is, in order to have free will, you must know the difference between good and evil. Without the knowledge of good and evil, you do not have the ability to make a choice between good and evil, which means you don't have free will.